Halloween, everybody. Early Halloween morning here, sitting in the car as the rain pours down. And I figured now's as good a time as any to write up this found footage film category for Halloween. Now, I've compiled this list over the past few years through IMDb because I've seen a shit ton of found footage movies. And for some reason, I just gravitate towards them. I don't know if it's the realism or whatever, but it's just something I think it's always neat to try and think about what new ideas, stories, plots that they can translate into a found footage film. And we see big budget ones like Cloverfield, but there's so many. And in that so many, the granddaddy of them all, the thing that really started it, was a documentary or mockumentary film that's called Cannibal Holocaust. And Cannibal Holocaust, it's released, I think, in 80. It's on the list. Cannibal Holocaust journalists travel to, forget what country, and they're there to just film the indigenous peoples, customs, whatever. And it doesn't go how they planned. It's a head-shrinking tribe, just craziness. Actually, the film Green Inferno, that was directed by Eli Roth, was inspired by Cannibal Holocaust. So without Cannibal Holocaust, we wouldn't get any of these other found footage films until, you want to say, the Blair Witch Project came along. I want to list this by release date here. Okay. So, if we take a look, Cannibal Holocaust here, it says 1985, but I think it's 80, 81. This must just be wherever it was reissued or something. But Blair Witch Project tends to get all the credit, and it does get the credit for reviving or bringing back this genre. There's another one that's not on the list. It's The Legend of Boggy Creek. That also was from the 70s, and it's a documentary style film looking for this rural county, their local legend known as the creature of Boggy Creek. And I used to watch that film, and it used to scare the hell out of me. But up until that point, they only had Cannibal Holocaust, Legend of Boggy Creek, and then Blair Witch came creeping along in 99. It's hard to believe it's already been 20 years. I just give Blair Witch Project respect, and the respect I give it is because it's the last movie during that time period that scared me. And so I don't know if I repeat, it scared me to the point that it's not scary, right? But the particular day that I saw this in the movies, when I came home, normally my mother's here, my brother's there. My mom was in Georgia at the time. My brother was visiting a friend, so I was in the house all by myself. And it happened to be a very windy night that night. So again, Blair Witch does an excellent job of playing on your human senses, which the argument that I've always made when people complain that, oh, you don't see anything, nothing ever happens, you don't see anything, and that's what adds to the realism. Because in real life, you wouldn't see anything. Leaving it up to your own imagination is what does the trick. And you can fill in any blank you want to with your own images of what this thing should look like. But in real life, you never see anything. It's always just implied, or you're seeing doors open or whatever. So that's why I just give Blair Witch Project credit for bringing it back, because the entire movie just builds and builds into the end. So you would say, nothing really goes on, but it's just the last 5 minutes that kicks on. And I know when I tell the story, the hair on my arm starts to stand up a little bit, just because of that guttural feeling that was pretty cool. What's going on? What's going to happen next when they come across that house? So it may not be the scariest movie, but it can play on your senses. And since then, I've established different rules for the genre and what you have to do. So it doesn't say stagnant, but there is a lot of stagnation when it comes to it. It's just a lot of repeat plots, For instance, The Last Exorcism, the skeletal plot outline for Last Exorcism is almost identical to the Blair Witch Project. That and the fact that they do a whole bunch of interviews at the beginning of the film, and it's nothing going on until the last 5 or 10 minutes of the movie. And again, there are a few scares scattered all throughout. I have a few gripes with how the story went. But Last Exorcism 2 that came out was not a found footage film. And in actuality, they made it into a regular film. And the way they incorporated the first film was a video that had been uploaded on YouTube. So that's how they got it into the story there. So there's no real comparison to Last Exorcism, the first, and then the second one. But I give it credit because it had some weirdo shit in it too. The last broadcast that you see here, now this was actually released before the Blair Witch Project. It is based in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. These local monster hunters or whatever, this film crew, they're going in search of the Jersey Devil. And of course, the crew, this other guy, they wind up dead. And you don't know what went on, so there's this whole mystery. There was a photo, and they're waiting for the photo to decode, and that takes like the entire time of the movie. But it was before Blair Witch, but didn't get a wide theatrical release. Guess they didn't have the money to promote the film properly the way the Blair Witch Project had, because it had been supported, I think it was at Sundance or whatever film festival. That's how they were able to get the distribution for it. It was low budget. They barely spent any money. There was more money spent on the marketing for it than the actual film. But I'm not going to go completely into all that because I'm rambling, whatever. Cloverfield steps it up. Cloverfield takes its time. You never see the monster for the entire time. It's suspense. It's different crazy action elements that go on. So Cloverfield is, a great found footage film too. Quarantine is actually a remake of a Spanish language film, also called Record, or RAC. And the thing is, I didn't know that that's what Quarantine was. I didn't know Quarantine was a remake of this one, the RAC. Not until my brother one night showed me Record 2, and it looked really familiar to me because it picks up right where the first one leaves off. And I noticed the apartment complex that they're in, the firemen, everything about it seemed really familiar to me. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, what am I thinking of? And then that's when it hits me. I'm like, oh damn, it's Quarantine. It's the continuing from Quarantine, where it seems like it's a Spanish sequel to it. And that got me on the internet, and I jumped and I checked it out, and that's when I found out, Record is a Spanish language horror film, and they remade it almost verbatim as the first one. And I enjoyed this one. Again, some scary moments in it, very scary moments in it, and some explanation as to what happened and what caused this, what caused these whatever zombie type things that there are that are trapped in this apartment complex with the people in there, with the tenants. The second one, RAC2, is phenomenal. Now, they never made an American sequel to it, but this one really impressed me. And the reason this one impressed me was they worked more of the science into the storyline, where when you watch the first film, you get some of the science of what caused it. But this one's pretty cool because it's got a lot of action in it. It's like, I want to say religious action. There's a group of soldiers that are accompanied by a priest, feeling that this is a demonic force, and they need something supernatural on their side in order to combat it. But that's not really it. What does it is when I say they added a science to it, the fact that, and this is a spoiler, this is a definite spoiler, so if you don't want to hear this, then I guess freaking scrub through until I get to the end of it, and I was like, oh, there you go. But what happens is the plague that the scientists designed was based off of it was built from a blood sample from a little girl who was possessed by a demon. And in her blood, in that vial of blood, it carried over the possession. And I'm going to leave it there because that was a friggin' badass move that they did. And that's why I appreciate Record and Record 2. Lake Mungo, that's up here. Lake Mungo, I would say, is the realist of the mockumentaries. It's definitely the most realistic one. That and it being, and I don't want to ruin anything, so no spoilers here. I'm not going to say anything at all. But I hope I've intrigued you to check it out. And if you watch it, it's extremely believable, to the point where I still question whether or not it was real or not. But if you get a chance, you should check that one out too. I'm going to wind up doing a second video on found footage films because I've watched so much and I want to convey so much to you guys. If I wanted to tell you what the best ones are, since I've just been going in order, but by my estimations, the ones that have impressed me the most, the ones that are awesome, that are on here, I can break off and do a separate video on the best ones of all time and why they're the best ones or whatever. But in the meantime, I'll actually have the IMDb list posted either on my Facebook, not my Facebook, on the I Have No Nerd Geek Facebook, or if the I Have No Nerd Geek website, I'll embed the list so you guys can take a look at it and then drop another video later on. Until then, hope you guys have a happy Halloween, a frightful, scary Halloween, and yeah, that's it. So take care, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.